I'm your host, John Vargas, and thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe to the Apple, Spotify, and YouTube accounts. They help the algorithm move so that an episode like this can help someone in need, a first responder, a firefighter, a police officer, and also a veteran. So please like, subscribe. It helps me out and it gets the message moving. So I want to just support 343fund.org. What they do is going to help a first responder in need who's struggling with PTSD, trauma, and dealing with a crisis, but also any addiction problems. This medicine, Ibogaine, is amazing. And the last few episodes have been dedicated to understanding what Ibogaine is. And this episode is dedicated to that as well. Erin Suozzo, who's on the podcast. And what Angela Scudin did, she came on the podcast. She talked about the 343 Fund. So if you want to donate, go on their website, 343fund.org. You can donate on that website to help a first responder get the help they need by sponsoring them to go down to Mexico and get the Ibogaine treatment done. If you're interested, you can go on their website and also check out their screening process for getting selected to go down to Mexico to go do Ibogaine. I've heard so many amazing stories about this medicine. I fully support it, and I want people to get the help they need. So for today, I'm having Erin Suozzo on the podcast. He's a police officer, a retired police officer from Hayward, up in Hayward, California, around the Oakland area. And he tells his story about, being connected with the 343 Fund and also going down and doing Ibogaine. He was on the SWAT team for Hayward and was also just a police officer. So his story is really amazing. We don't get that many police officers. It was a great collaboration to hear from a police officer's perspective, like what happens, man? Like this job is so strange, right? The first responder industry, like we all have this connection to responding, but we respond differently. So I would really like to hear what other people think about, Erin's experience, and, he will tell his story. It's really amazing. And I was an honor to have him on. So please listen to this episode and keep sharing the episodes with many other people. Take care. And I love you. Oh, I did forget to and I did forget to say everything on this podcast episode and many other episodes do not reflect the opinions of the City of Los Angeles Fire Department. So these are all my own opinions and views, and I hope people are just open to hearing what Erin has to say. All right, everyone, I love you. Thank you.
It's time for Crab Lives.
Today I have Erin Suozzo. Erin, where do you work, brother?
So I'm retired out of Hayward, California. So I was with Hayward Police Department, California, in the Bay Area for the most part. Right up, probably about 15 minutes outside of Oakland for people who don't know where that area is.
Okay, so where do you live now?
West Palm Beach, Florida.
Okay, so, damn, you just went all the way to the other side.
Yeah, so long story short, born in New York, lived in Jersey, went to college in Jersey, high school in Jersey. And then how I got to California is, I still don't know how I got out there, honestly. But one of my buddies was pointing me in the direction of how much the police officers make in the West Coast and also the scheduling out there. But what I didn't realize was the cost of living in California. So I saw the six figures, but didn't realize I was going to be, once I balance everything out, I would be, if not the same as Jersey, New York when it comes to things out there. So originally I applied to San Jose PD. God had a different plan, and we ended up in Hayward. So that's a short story of how I ended up out there. And then when I retired in 2021 and moved back to the East Coast to Florida, where I'm currently.
How much time did you serve for Hayward?
So I was on from 2015, and then I retired in 21, medical retirement.
Okay.
And I tell people, yeah, it was 7 years, but I did my 40 in 7 years. So I came out firing, literally, and was just high speed 24/7 on everything I was doing out there. And anybody knows that area understands how fast paced it is out there. But it was my style. It was what I wanted to do. it was the only way I really know how to operate. And then being from Jersey, and then with the speed of life out there, I adapted extremely quickly to it. But there was some downside to it, and I'm sure we're going to get into that here as we speak some more. Moving that fast and getting involved in everything that I was involved in.
Yeah, man. Cops have such a different lifestyle. Like I've discussed it with a lot of different people, and for firefighters, like I work with a team. You know what I mean? And we're like a tight knit group, and so a lot of our issues come from having kind of arguments within the firehouse and things like that. But for cops, sometimes if they don't have a partner, they're by themselves.
Right.
So you can just be like circling the drain or something if you're dealing with some shit and you're by yourself. So you don't have that balance.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I disagree with you a little bit. When I was on a SWAT team also, so we had the team
Okay.
guy when it comes to those things. When you're in the individual units, like the gang unit, things like that, you kind of have your little bit of a team environment there. But you are right when you are on patrol, because we patrolled solo. You had your partners that were close by, but yes, you're for the majority of the time you are by yourself, and if you are dealing with something, you are dealing with something solo. Um, Hopefully you have somebody there that realizes it. We can meet up, talk, so on and so forth. So when people see like cops sitting side by side, a lot of times we're doing the same thing you're doing. We're talking about life, trying to figure things out, seeing what's going on. So you do have that support in a sense, if you are willing to open up. So that's the hard part too, is that you are type A personality individuals that we are. That's where it comes down to that. Are we in a safe space per se to speak to people and feel like, yeah, we don't have to be tough guys all the time or tough girls all the time, and we could actually share these emotions and feelings that unfortunately we're trained to do what? To compartmentalize them, hide them, put them away, and turn the switch off. But as we know, that goes south fairly quick when you stack up as much as we stack up on a daily basis. And that goes for fire guys, EMT, police. I speak on the police aspect of things, but working fairly close with the fire guys and the EMT with the things that we see daily, it's impossible to hold on to all of that without something popping up somewhere, or actually dealing with it in whatever way it may be. It could be alcoholism, drugs, it could be eating, it could be, womanizing, whatever it may be. It comes out somehow. So
Yeah, I like to yeah, I just wanted to kind of hear your perspective on as a police officer how that dynamic works, because I don't understand it very much because I don't live it, so it's interesting to hear. I've had a couple of friends who have been on SWAT teams, and they do have that dynamic. And so it is interesting to me, that cultures, it's very similar, but it's still different. And so I always
yeah,
love to learn and hear your perspective.
so to put it side by side with the fire guys, in a sense, I understand what you guys because you guys have that break time in between each call. So you have a call, you'll
Mhm.
have a lull in the fight, whatever you want to call it, and you have downtime to do whatever it may be that you guys are doing throughout that whole process. Us, I could give you a day that I come in at 6 a.m. and we're switching out a call where we have a barricaded scenario from somebody from 5 o'clock in the morning. So my day starts immediately. We're jumping on that. We deal with that. We're done by 9. Okay, I got to go get my coffee and breakfast now because I think I have a little bit of time. As I'm getting my coffee and breakfast, some guy down the street just stole somebody's laptop. I'm in a foot chase now. So I go from that. We deal with that, get paperwork done. Okay, domestic violence call. We go deal with this now. Then from there, okay, maybe I get a time to eat. As I'm eating my food, somebody needs code 3 backup, and I'm still running. And this is all before lunch, and then we still have the rest of the day to go through. Then I've got to write all that paperwork after I'm done, go home, kiss the baby, shake hands, and pretend like my day was great. And I just had, within a 12-hour period, something that people probably haven't seen in half of their life. That was my one day, Then you have days where it's even crazier than that. You get in officer involved shootings, any sort of critical incidents, you get a deadly car crash, whatever it may be. And then you're going from call to call to call, and you're up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and then you go from dealing with this guy that may have lost, or a lady that lost their husband in a motorcycle accident. Then you're dealing with somebody that can't control their kids, and then you got to be a babysitter. Then you go from that, and then you're chasing a cat around the street or something. Like, it's just absolute chaos most of the time. And maybe every now and then, yeah, you have a lull where you're sitting there and it's like, okay, nothing's going on. If you want to be proactive, you can be proactive and go find things that you want to get involved with. Or I mean, out of nowhere, you're sitting there thinking you have a second to rest and relax. And like I said, it's okay, somebody shot, and we got to go run to shots fired call. Or they press the button and now I've got to get my tachymeter on and go to whatever the call out is. Cop got shot. We got to go run down and go help a surrounding agency with something else going on. So, I mean, I can make a million scenarios that we've been in that our days are just insane sometimes. And it's just, some days it's like, I don't remember what happened. You know, you came in and then next thing I know, it's 6 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm just like, what just happened? And then it's hard to come down from that too, a lot of times. So comparison to it, it's a wild profession to be in. And I don't think a lot of people understand that, especially when they first get into it. They think that it's just going to be a lot of kissing babies, shaking hands. Yeah, you might get into a foot chase or something like that every now and then. But depending on the city that you're working in, my city especially, I could say that it was not a lot of that. We were active, especially myself. So
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Because I do I've had talked to a lot of people who have been on the podcast, and I work for a busy department. So
mhm,
when I talk to other people who don't work for busy departments, it's not the same. I don't want to compare and contrast,
mhm.
but the level of activity and the moments to rest, it's very little to none. I mean, for my department, we don't have that many like slow stations, and if you do, you got to have like 20 plus years on to get there. So I think the conversation's kind of gonna go into like our bodies remember all that stuff, and our nervous systems. And so when you're experiencing those things, like, you to get out of that fight or flight and to get your body into some state of ability to heal is very difficult. And so that's why we can end up into all these other different bad behaviors. We're just coping with what we think works. And we think those things will work, but they're actually these little like paper cuts. And I've never had like a shell shock moments in my life. It's this death of a thousand paper cuts that really just cut me deep, to where later down the road, like, that's what hit me, because I didn't even know it was existing. It was building up over and over and over and compressing. And so I want people just to understand that over a period of time, we don't even see this stuff. But what happens is there's markers in our life where incidents occur that is showing us what's really going on. And we're not paying attention to that.
Yeah, so I can even piggyback off what you said. So similar to what you said with the paper cuts, the way I um put it into perspective is we wear a book bag, all right? And every little piece of trauma, every critical incident, whatever it may be, it's a little pebble. That's all it is. Throw it in the book bag. Every little one, throw it in the book bag. And we deal with how many of those over and over again, like I said, multiple times a day. So you're, I don't know, a couple months into the job, you got a book bag about quarter full. Not that serious. We're strong enough to hold that. But you do that for a couple of years. That book bag gets full of those pebbles. That little pebble that weighed nothing now is breaking your back, and you don't even realize that it's doing that. And similar to what you said, at this point now, you've got so much trauma, and that's what it is. We're literally traumatizing ourselves over, because we're not supposed to see half of the stuff we see. We're not supposed to see that, and we see it daily. And then you get to a point where that bag is so heavy that you're dropping to a knee. And sometimes people aren't strong enough to even hold themselves up on that knee, and they just go face first, i.e., the suicide rate in our professions. Um, and then also with that is we don't know how to empty that bag a lot of times. Like you said, we cope with other things, alcohol, and it's things that we're bought into these professions with. Oh, we're supposed to drink, have a good time, and that numbs it. And all it does is just stare at us, makes us look left, and we're still walking straight, but we're looking left, so we're not seeing what we're walking into. And then you don't know. Like my case, same the way it sounds like you're saying, is that I was depressed and I had no clue. No clue what I was dealing with. I just thought it was something that was going on, and then coming from my backgrounds, playing sports and everything like that, we put a Band-Aid on it, suck it up, put some dirt on it, and keep it moving. And all we're doing is hurting ourselves worse and worse and worse and worse. Then by the time you realize, if you do have the opportunity to realize or have some individuals around you that are seeing it before you do and actually like, okay, like you need to slow down a second here. Like there's something going on. You need to check yourself in. Or you just, like you said, you dive off the deep end and you have no idea how to come back from that. So it's what you're saying is very true to people. And especially with the new world of police officers, firefighters, EMT, even dispatchers, and everybody involved in it. Like people think just because you're not involved in the physicality of this, that it's not a stressor. Like I give a shout out to these dispatchers because the stress that they're under, because honestly, you're kind of semi in charge of what I'm dealing with. So if you dispatch the wrong thing or someone dispatches the firefighters to the wrong area, and we're in an active shootout, or you guys go in a hot zone, you're screwed. And guess who gets to listen to that radio traffic? And that's one of the hardest things to do is listen to that radio traffic and actually have no ability to assist anybody in any other way. So I give a shout out to them too with that. So it's a lot. It really is a lot when it comes to that. But yes, you're 100% right. Nail on the head with death by 1,000 cuts. It definitely is that.
Yeah, and I think we're barely understanding what solutions are. But the thing for me is like the only solutions that I've been seeing are minimal, you
Mm,
know, because of liability, because of the legalities, because of the red tape. We'll have just these emails that'll come out like, "Hey, watch this video on suicide awareness." But they don't have these solutions on what we can do, and that's what I started this podcast for was solutions, or understanding. I think a lot of us we want to educate ourselves, number one, and then have the understanding of what's actually happening. Because with the lack of understanding, the lack of awareness, then we can't just jump into something without the knowledge. We want and try to bullshit a police officer or a firefighter. You can't.
yeah.
You cannot do that. So I know these we're designed to find out what bullshit is, right? And we want to find what real solutions are. So I know you found solutions.
I did.
So I do want to kind of create a timeline of what was coming up for you before you got to the breaking point, and what that was like for you on a personal level. And then we'll talk about the solution part.
Sure. I do want to add one more thing to what you just said. And it's crazy how we're such problem solvers, but the one thing we should have a solution for, everybody's turning their head to not look for this solution. And that's the
Mm.
wild thing that I've realized after I did everything that I did is like we solve problems all day. That's what we're built to do that. We wear 50,000 hats and we figure out things. And the big thing that we should be doing to assist ourselves and help ourselves out and help our brothers and sisters, like we call them out, we're not looking for that solution, or the solution sitting right in front of us and we're not given access to it. But for timeline purposes, I will give you the Cliff Notes version because we'll be sitting here for the next 10 days, listening to my life. So got in 2015, and out the gate, we had an incident. One of our sergeants had got shot and killed, legitimately right before I got to the academy. I was on a traffic stop, and it was one of those things that it's just sometimes it's your day. The guy was the commander of the SWAT team, like couldn't have done anything more right. And it was just one of those things that he got shot in the face. So walking into police work, that was the first thing I get to see is that, okay, one of our sergeants got shot and killed. This is what we're walking into. This is what you're dealing with. So you take that, go into the academy. I get out of the academy, get into my first shooting, I think between 3 and 6 months. I don't have the exact date. Between 3 and 6 months out of the academy, get into my first shooting. Guy tried running me over with a RV. And then the one thing that in that job that I could never deal with and it would have just crippled me if I had to watch this happen is watching kids die. Can't do it. That's my thing. I've watched people blow their heads off. I've watched everything. I've seen people slit their throats, a bunch of gnarly stuff. But if I had to watch kids die, that's what would cripple me. And I almost had to watch several kids get run over by an RV. Thank God things played out different and we were able to stop this guy. But he ended up trying to blow us up with a propane tank. Thank God it's not like the movies where you shoot it and it blows up, because that would have been a bad day for me and my partner. He ends up driving the RV, ramming me. I thought he killed my partner. Starts heading towards the kids to drive as he's getting out of there. And I thought he was just going to run over. There was a big quinceanera going on Um, Ended up stopping him, unloading my gun into this guy, and somehow survived that for a brief period of time. So that was my welcome to Hayward after graduation scenario. And then from there, I was just nonstop. I used to do a lot of close work with the gang unit, so I was always in foot chases, car high speed chases. I did it all when it came to this job. Um, a lot of domestic violence, a lot of shootings out there, a lot of critical incidents involving different weapons, multiple officer down calls that we went to. A city over from us, two cops got shot. We ended up hunting this guy down, finding him. So just, nonstop throughout my whole career when it came to that. Second shooting I got into was the year before I retired. It was actually, I'm sorry, 2 years before, because COVID happened right before that. So I think it was 2019. And then almost a month after that, I got into my third shooting after I came back. And that week, everything happened. So it was almost like God was telling me, like, knock, knock. Like, okay, you need to stop. Here's your first sign, ignored. Here's your second sign, you ignored it now. Here's your third sign, you're not going to ignore this one. I got into my shooting. One of my partners committed suicide. And then there was a third incident that happened that I'm not going to get into too much detail about, but it was a significant incident that it played with my head a little bit. So that all happened. I actually left the country to get away from literally everybody. That's how bad it was that my backpack that I was talking about, the little pebbles, was full and it was overflowing at that point. I still didn't realize it. So come back. I ended up medically retiring after that. Moved to Florida, getting in a relationship. I thought that was a smart thing to do. Ended up having 2 more kids. I have a daughter who's 17 now, and then I have 2 younger kids. Relationship didn't work out, but then things were just off. So when I first retired, I was locked away in my apartment because COVID happened. So we were stuck in California. I was able to do nothing. So while I was in there, though, I was retiring at 37 years old. I was at my prime. So I went from 100 miles an hour to nothing like that. And I didn't know how to deal with it. My purpose was to go get bad guys, go hunt people. I was like a Malinois. Just let them go and go find something. And then I was not able to do anything. But while I'm not able to do anything, you knew what California was like. California was insane during COVID.
Yeah.
We had all those mall raids, and I would literally sit on my couch with my tack vest, because I was still technically a cop. I was just going through the process of getting all my stuff done. My tack vest, my rifle, and my radio, and I would track the radio. And I would hope and just pray that somebody would either crash out in front of my apartment, they would chase somebody there, and I'd have to throw on my vest and go run out just to get involved in something. That's what I would do while I was sitting there. And still, in my head, it made sense. Other people, they look at me like, you're crazy. What are you doing? But in my head, I was like, this makes 100% sense. But then I was isolating myself. I wasn't talking to anybody. Didn't want to see anybody, didn't want to be around anybody. I was eating, hanging out. I didn't drink like that, so that wasn't my thing. But I was literally would sit in the dark with my 2 dogs, and that's it. And it's like the telltale sign of depression, but I wasn't seeing it that way. And nobody else was around me to see it. So I didn't have any help to really tell me, like, okay, you got something going on here. So like I said, moving fast forward, I moved to Florida, had my kids, everything like that. Relationship didn't work out. And then this is where things started getting, like, I say there are no coincidences in life at this point, because everything just lined up moving forward exactly how it was supposed to line up. So when I got to Florida after I retired, I got into the firearms industry, and I was surrounded by some people that honestly I would never be around. DJ Shipley, Cole Falk from GBRS Group, several times we met up, and it was like we knew each other for the longest time. We sat down and we spoke at an event. And I remember listening to DJ on Sean Ryan's show talk about Ibogaine and everything they did. But me, I never did a drug in my life. I was like, you guys are crazy. Like, that stuff just sounds nuts. So he talked to me about it, and I was like, yeah, cool, thumbs up. But yeah, not happening. You guys are nuts. I'm not doing that stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's like tree hugger, like hippie stuff. I would never in my life be seen doing that stuff. Cool, thanks for the offer. Not happening. While this is going on, I'm still going through a bunch of stuff. So as that happened the first time, in between that phase, I was in my place, And my youngest, who was 1 at the time, he's just playing on my leg. I was in the kitchen washing dishes, playing on my leg, doing what kids do. Nothing, he was doing nothing out of the ordinary what a kid would do. But as he's playing on my leg, he rubbed my leg and grabbed me. And as he touched me the second time, I got a shock up the right side of my body. And it literally went from my leg. I felt it climb up my body and it went to my head. It was like an explosion went off in my head. And I didn't say it, but I wanted to say it. I literally was like, get the F off of me, is what I wanted to say to him. And I remember thinking to myself, like, what are you doing? I love my kids to death. I would never let anybody touch my kids in any sort of way. And I'm the one sitting here getting angry at my kid for literally being a 1-year-old hanging on my leg. So I remember thinking to myself, like, what the hell was that? I was like, whatever. Again, rub some dirt on it, push it off, nothing. Figure it out. We'll talk about it later. So after that happened, I ended up meeting up with DJ and Cole again, another event, talking about the same thing. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I'm good. I don't need it. This is not stuff that I need to do. I'm good. I'm in control. I've got everything taken care of. DJ said, all right, if you ever need it, give me a call. Let me know. We've got things going on over here. All right, whatever. So in Florida, and I have all 3 of my kids. I got my daughter in the front seat, my boys in the back seat. We're driving, we're exiting off 95, and there's a spider in the car. And my daughter's freaking out in the front seat. The spider's in the car. I'm like, okay, when I get to this light, I gave her a water bottle. Take this bottle, open up the door, and just slap the spider out of the car. Easy movement, nothing serious about it. She opens the door, slaps the spider out of the car, and the water bottle falls out. I was like, all right. So she goes to get out of the car. I'm like, no, don't get out. We're in the middle of the off the highway. You're not getting out of the car. So close the door. As I'm sitting there, I'm still extremely hypervigilant at this point. I see somebody in my peripheral, like running up to the car, and it's a body. And I'm like, that's not good. So I turn, and as I turn, I see this guy runs up, bends down by my daughter's door, and comes up and just slams hard as hell the bottle on her window. And Jason, when I tell you, and I explain this to people over and over again, the dynamic of A is like, okay, something happened, B, C, D, E, let's figure out what it was. Let's find a game plan. How are we going to deal with it? I skipped B, C, D all the way to Z. I went A, Z is he has to die. He's not going to do that anymore. That's exactly how that went. It was A, did what he did, and Z has to happen right now. There was no logic of anything else. Like, it has to happen. And he gets back in his car. My windows all tinted out, so he didn't even see what was in the car. So he gets in his car, makes a right turn, and unfortunately for him, there's nobody else making a right turn. And there's a red light he just turned into. And I literally saw red. I went after him like I was about to hit him with a VCT. I was going to take him down in his car right then and there. And I forgot my kids were in the car. And the sucky part about this is I preach to people so much about do not get involved with anything when you have your kids in the car. That is just plain old stupid. I'm not getting into a shootout or I'm going to do something to this guy that my kids get in the middle of this. And I go off on him, forget my daughter sitting there. Like, I don't see them. That's the thing that scared the hell out of me. I open my window and I'm going off on this guy. And at this point, he's like, oh, shoot, I'm screwed. What's going on? And I wanted to just get out and do something to him. But as I'm doing what I'm doing, I come out of my tunnel vision and I see my boys looking at me. And I felt like the biggest piece of shit, honestly. When they were looking at me the way we're looking at me, the look of like just like disbelief of what I was saying or doing. And honestly, some of it, I don't even remember what I was saying to the guy, but I know it wasn't good. And I never wanted them to see me in that mode. And they just saw me go into that mode. And I made the guy get out and apologize to my kid. And then I drove off. As soon as I got back, I contacted DJ. I was like, send me the paperwork right now. I have no control. Like that's the moment where I was like, there is something wrong with me right now. And I have no control of what's going on. And I didn't even know why I was getting angry like that. I had no clue why I was getting angry like that. So this is where God works in mysterious ways. I was like, all right. So now I just committed to something because I told DJ to send me the paperwork. And I was like, shoot. I really didn't want to go do this, but I just said, whatever. I was like, I probably won't even I don't have the money to do this because it's an expensive treatment. So DJ and Patsy, I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're with the Danny Dietz Foundation. So they're on the board, got me through. I had a check cut to go do that within like 48 hours. I was like, okay, shoot, that's paid for now. Damn it. All right. I heard it's like a 1.5 year waiting list. So he tells me call Trevor down in Ambio. That's where he went, was Ambio. And you got to go out of the country to get this treatment, Ibogaine treatment. So I was like, all right, it's a 1.5 year wait. I could talk myself out of this. So I called Trevor. This happened in the beginning of September, this incident. Trevor tells me there's an opening in 3 weeks. I was like, you got to be kidding me right now. I was like, how is that even possible? I thought I definitely had a year to get out of this. I was all right, whatever. So I was like, you know what? I could talk my way out of this one because I probably have to deal with my kids. I got my kids. Nobody's gonna be able to watch them for a week. My kid's mom take them on vacation every year. You know what week that was? That week. I was like, what is going on here right now? Like now I'm out of this altogether. There's no way I could do this and back out of this whole scenario. So I was like, all right, got that situated. And then I was like, you know what? I don't have the money to fly to San Diego. Can't do it. I had enough frequent flyer miles to fly back and forth to San Diego. I don't know how many times. So at this point, I had no way to stop this from happening. So go with it. I even got to a point where I didn't book my flight till the day before I had to leave just to try to figure out ways. And there was no way out of it. So cool. Let's do it. Fly out to San Diego. And for people that haven't done this before, know when you do go down to Ambio to do the Ibogaine treatment, meet up in San Diego. I'm meeting up with a bunch of strangers. No idea who these guys are. I just was told that it's gonna be me and 6 guys. So like that's even better for somebody like me who's already paranoid about life. I was like, this is cool. And then we're gonna drive over the border to Mexico into Tijuana. Even better. I was like, this is what movies are made of. I'm gonna get kidnapped. There's gonna be a shootout. I don't have my guns on me, nothing. I was like, this is gonna be good. So we get there. All the guys in the car. We're driving over. Everybody, I can know everybody's kind of because there was a couple of soft guys in there, a couple of ex-military guys also. So I know we're all sizing each other up, figuring out who's who, what's doing what in this car. We get across the border. But the weird thing about this trip was when I got across that border, and I'll call it paranoid or aware, as I always was and hypervigilant, I felt safe. It was the weirdest thing because I knew I wanted to pay attention to everything, but something in me was telling me, no, you're good. Like, just go with it. You're good. And I was fighting that feeling for a long time throughout this whole thing. And there's probably a lot to do with my ego also, but I was fighting it for a while. And every time I would fight it, it was this feeling of just comfort that I haven't had in the longest time. It was just like, you're good, man. Like, just go with it. So we get there. I will tell you right now, and everybody listening to this, the staff there is A+ when it comes to everything they do. You are literally put in a position with Ambio and going through this treatment of you are focused on one thing and have one thing to focus on, and that is yourself. From your laundry to the food, which is the best food I probably ever had that they make down there. Your medical staff, everything is A+. So that even added more to the feeling of safety and comfort and the safe space, if you will, of dealing with what I had to deal with and go through what I had to go through. And ego was definitely playing a big part of it. And I was told that I have to be vulnerable and open up. And us type A personalities, it's hard to be like that and tell a bunch of strangers what I'm going through and what I'm feeling. So, but I allowed it. I allowed it to happen. And you want to go into the Ibogaine treatment, everything that went down there, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, let's just break it down for a second. I mean, so just to start off, you met these guys working selling firearms, and they were telling you about Ibogaine.
Mhm.
And so you had no idea what Ibogaine is, but they're like,
I
dude, this is gonna
I
help
think
you.
on Sean Ryan's show what it was, but honestly, I didn't do any research on it, and I'm glad that I didn't. That I went in there with an open mind of not looking or having any expectations. That helped me out a lot.
Yeah.
Everybody else was the same, but myself, that helped me out. That I didn't know what I was supposed to expect. And I thank DJ and Cole for that also, because I did ask them at one point, like, tell me about what happened. They told me, no, you have to go down there and you have to go through your own thing. And I do appreciate them not telling me that because it did help out. They did tell me one thing during my 5-MEO that when the ego fights, you're gonna have to kill it. And I'll get into that part when we talk about the 5-MeO.
Yeah.
But
So we've had a guy named Corey Pullman on the podcast, and he serves Iboga, and so he's gone down to Africa, and he has been down there twice, and he's learned about this medicine from the Bwiti tribes. And so we have a very intricate understanding from the podcast episode, like of what that medicine is and how sacred it is,
yes,
and how it's been used for thousands of years to help people understand your life
yeah,
and how you can walk on this planet without fear, without shame, and how you collaborate with this planet. And so many people who have done this medicine, they say it is the root of all healing because it takes you straight to the core of everything. And essentially it's yourself. You face yourself and you face your demons, you face your fears, and it'll put your face in it because you have to face yourself and take full ownership of what it is. So
yeah,
that was like a bit of like the understanding I have from what Corey has told us. Then we've had Angela talk about Ibogaine. So people have a different correlation what Ibogaine versus Iboga is. And so if you think about it's a plant, right? It's a root. And so what they've done is they've somehow synthesized the medicine of some of the alkaloids from the whole root of Iboga. And so because there are some possibilities of cardiac toxicity, so they want to be really safe. So they do Ibogaine in a clinical setting to make sure nothing's going to happen. They want to make sure this medicine gets out there, so they don't want to take any risks. So what Ambio Life Sciences is going to do is they're going to allow the safety and the effectiveness of the medicine so that they can make that big change with what this medicine's been doing. So the way I had heard of Ibogaine was Navy SEALs, they got tired of the VA, basically shoving them with paperwork, prescriptions, and let's just give you Valium for your PTSD in quotation marks. And these Navy SEALs are like, nah, man, that's not it. I'm telling you, this is something else. And they know. And so there's a group of these Navy SEALs who started to look at what they could do to heal themselves because they've had it with the VA. And I'm sure each and every department in this United States of America, from police officers to firefighters, they're like, dude, you guys are not doing something. So these people who are dealing with this shit, they're like, hey, we'll find it. And so luckily, people who have done this medicine Ibogaine, they've discovered like, hey, there is an option, but it's not here in the U.S. The FDA won't approve of this stuff, so we're gonna go take care of it on our own. So we're gonna have Trevor on the podcast from Ambio Life Sciences. It'd be really amazing. But I'd love to hear your personal perspective. Like, and that's really funny, dude, that you mentioned your ego resisting, because that's part of it. You know, like your ego, all it knows is it needs to protect. It needs to protect old identities. It needs to protect old behaviors because it's comfortable in them. And it doesn't want to resist change. So there's a bit of like this kicking and screaming that happens within us when we're about to embark on great change. And it's only like a disintegration process because we're being transformed. So a lot of us have to just take that into perspective and not take it seriously. But that does happen. It's normal. It's a normal response for us to have that, you know? So I think I do want to go back to what you're talking about. And because this is like what I love to kind of dissect is like our natural human nature. So we don't run away from that. When you're with your kids, right? And you had this reaction to anger, and you saw red. Like we've all had that experience, you know, some are more inclined than others to do that. But I feel like we as human beings, we've created such shame around our reaction to things, you know, and we've created this idea of negativity around our human nature. When I'm under the impression like we have to honor our human nature. You know, like you as a protector, you wanted to protect your kids in some way or form. This guy came and like scared your daughter, like smashed the water bottle on the window. Like I would have probably done the same thing. You know what I mean? It's like It's only natural. So I do get the fact that you saw your kids react to your reaction, and that haunted you to make the big change. And I think that's the catalyst. We have to honor the catalyst. Like, hey, there is something wrong, dude, and I gotta find an answer because uh I know for myself, like, if I don't do it for myself, man, I'm doing it for my future generation and my home. Like, I don't want to bring my shit home.
Mhm.
And like that's my my incentive. And so I think if I don't do it for me, if I don't have that at home, people don't have some type of incentive like that, they can have a harder time. If they feel that isolation,
Right.
that's what cuts us. So I do want to honor your natural reaction, and just remember, like, we've created ideas around these things to deem them as demonized or bad and ugly, when the bad and ugly is the same part of the entirety of the whole. We have to honor those things.
Yeah,
Um,
you hit a great point with that, because you don't get people that actually look at it in that aspect that you said. It is a natural reaction. We are animalistic. Like, just take it down to the lowest form of things, a lion protecting its cubs. What happens? I think you go touch its cub, what is it? It gets angry, and it's probably going to kill you if you touch it. You know. And end of the day, I mean, we are like that. Yes, we're more intelligent when it comes to certain aspects of it. And the way I looked at it was that if somebody's controlling my emotions, there are things that I'm not seeing. And I'm not gonna dial it down to the deepest point of where I thought about it, but the problem was that I tunnel visioned out, and that's where I got scared. Is that I completely, if there was 3 or 4 people walking around me at that point, I wouldn't have seen it, and that's where it scared me. Is that I was so angry that I completely stopped looking at everything else. Um, but yes, you're 100% right. You're 100% right when you say that.
I totally get that too. I've been in those experiences where you just blank out, you
Yeah.
know, and like there's something in our nervous systems that's been programmed where we just, like, it just happens. There's something about that programming, that we have to unwire and unwind.
Mhm.
And I'm sure Ibogaine did something for you in that aspect.
Oh yeah. And when I get to the whole Ibogaine journey, there were things that I needed and I asked for, and that I had intentions that I needed to get handled. And honestly, what I thought I was going to deal with was a completely opposite path that was taken when I went on my journey.
Mm.
And you hear a lot of people say this after I have speaking to people, after I did do Ibogaine. And if you're good with it, I'll get into the journey.
Yeah, yeah,
Just to
go ahead.
say what exactly it was. So when I was going to do IBM, what I thought I was going to see was all of the horrific things, all the critical incidents, all the
Mm.
heads smashed in, the gunshots, the suicides, the shootings. That's what I thought I was going to relive. I thought I was going to relive the worst of the worst, and that was what was going to take me. So through the Ibogaine journey, you take the meds, which are capsule form for anybody that doesn't know that. At this point, I'm assuming everybody spoke. We had a couple people that spoke about it. And on my journey, first thing that happened, I started seeing little visions of things. So they say about 80% of people see visions, 20% of people don't. I was fortunate to be one of those 80% to actually have the visions, as well as 80% of people purge. One thing about me is I hate throwing up, like, with a passion. And I was fortunate not to, thank God, because I was not going to look forward to that whatsoever, but it is part of the scenario. And as everything opened up for me, I saw like these electric lights. I saw the skyline of like the Empire State Building, and I was confused what I was looking at. And I felt like it was like kind of priming me up and prepping me to get into where I was about to go. And then I had a scene where a screen opened up like a movie screen, and then it was like a piece of paper got thrown at me. So I was like, okay. And another piece of paper. Then a bunch of paper was getting thrown at me. And then it got to the point where it was like so overwhelming. And I was like, I have to organize this stuff. It's coming at me, and I'm taking things. I'm like, okay, don't need that. I need this, keep this, put this here, get rid of that. And even to this day, there is a part that bothers me. I can't figure out what it was, but there was something that got thrown at me. And I grabbed it, threw it out, And at this last second, I was like, no, I need that. And like I could feel my body, even when I was like under, I could feel my body jerk and jump up to go grab it. And I went and I grabbed it and I couldn't see what it was. And that's a part of the Ibogaine journey is a lot of times it's good to journal because you remember some stuff and then some stuff disappears. And then later on down the road, things will just pop up and something will ignite the thought back. And it's like, okay, that's what that was.
Mm.
And then, so get out of that, the screen kind of blanks out. Several things I asked for on this journey. One was patience. I needed to see my father. My father had passed away and I didn't get to say goodbye to him. That was a big part of my anger. And I knew that. A big part of my anger was that I didn't get to say goodbye to my father when he passed. And I knew that already. I just didn't want to feel that emotion the whole time. And I knew it was a bad, bad thing that just kept building up and building up. And I didn't like crying. So I didn't cry. So anytime I'd get emotional, I would turn it into anger and somebody had to pay for it. And then I wanted to see my kids. So those were three big things. I'm sorry. The fourth one was I wanted to know, like, what was my purpose here? What was the reasoning for me being where I was right now? So everything kind of blacks out. I'm laying there. And as I'm laying there, I could feel myself getting frustrated. And I started getting angry. I'm like, I want this to to start moving. Like, let's get this party started so I get this whole thing over with. So I actually went to go sit up and leave. And people hear this and be like, you're crazy. Something pushed me back down. It was like, no, you need to do this. And not in any sort of dangerous way, but I had no control of getting up. I'm not a small individual. If I want to get up, I'm getting up. And I couldn't move. And I was just like, okay, I guess we're taking this ride. At the same time, this screen popped up in front of me and the word patience popped up. And just the word and a screen. And throughout this journey, every time I'd get frustrated, hard stop and everything was going on, and the word patience would pop up. And I'd have to stare at the word. And when I calmed down or I was ready to go, the word would disappear and we move on. So funny part about this medicine is, like you said, it speaks to you. And you're literally looking at yourself the whole time. You don't realize it sometimes, but you ask for something and it gives you exactly what you need. You wanted patience? I'll give you patience. Learn how to be patient. That's the part that I was learning through that whole process. So after that happens, the screen goes on, kind of like old school theater curtains open up. And I'm expecting to see like just absolute chaos on the other side of the screen. And are you familiar with the ride, It's a Small World After All?
Yeah.
You know, a Disney ride? I literally see that. That's what opens up. And it's a kid's ride sitting in front of me. And there was someone there. And they said, come on, let's go take a ride. Let's go look at your life. And we literally went through my life from start to finish. Throughout that process, I was able to see my father. I was able to say what I want, like the way we're speaking right now, sit down, speak with him, let go of things. And even in that process, I could feel the weight of that hurt and that feeling that I had, that emotion literally lift out of my body. It was like it was physically removed out of my body. And I remember saying out loud, like, I'm happy, like I'm good now. A big part of what I had in my life also, because of a lot of this anger that I was holding on to, was I never had that like happy feeling. You know, when people have that ecstatic happiness, like your kids are born and you hear people talk about it. Like, I love my kids to death. I was happy when my children were born, but I never could figure out why I was never like ecstatic. And I could never find out how to be ecstatic. I've won championships in football and college, never got on a SWAT team. It was like, okay, cool. Next, what's next? You know? And I remember at that moment, I felt that. And I was like, okay, this is what it's about. And I even got emotional. I started crying. Like, it felt so good that I started crying. And I never allowed myself to feel that. So then we're going through the whole journey. And I see my kids. My kids are there. I was able to like hold their hands and walk through this whole thing. And I remember the one guy next to me after I went through this whole cycle, he was like, yeah, you were over there singing. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? I was singing. He was like, you were singing like you were a child, just singing like happy as hell. And I remember at that moment when I had my kids, I was like, this is it, man. This is what I wanted. I wanted this happiness. I wanted to feel like a kid again, like just carefree, stop worrying about things and just be able to feel for that moment, be in the moment. So going through that whole process, kind of run through my life forgave a lot of people that I needed to forgive for certain things. Again, holding on to a lot of anger and resentment on things, forgave them. And I was literally, as this is going, I'm literally feeling these weights lift off of me. That backpack that I was holding on to, I was dumping it. I was literally dumping. I could feel it coming off. Then a couple of times, I remember I was getting frustrated again at some certain things, and then the word again, patience would pop up throughout the whole process. So we go through all this. I get to the end, and then I remember asking, like, so tell me, what is the purpose of this? Like, why did I do all this? And then also this whole ride that you're taking, the journey, it's not like a 5-minute ride. Like, I think I was in there about 12 and a half, 13 hours. So there was a bit of time I had going through all this. For people that don't know that. But I asked the medicine, I was like, what is my purpose here? And a screen popped up again and opened up, and it's the word gentle popped up. I remember thinking to myself, like, what the hell? Like, gentle? What does that even mean? And then screen like flashed again, and the word gentle popped again. I was like, okay. And then it just snapped in my head. It was like that light bulb moment. And something my kid's mom, she's Hispanic, and what she used to call me, and I always forget this word. She used to call me Barbosa. It's like barbaric in Spanish, whatever the word barbaric in Spanish is. Bruto. That's what she said, bruto. Because she's like, you always walk around like just masculine, like nothing. I'm throwing things and doing like I just walk around masculine. You walk hard. Everything you do is hard. And I remember she used to always say that, like, be gentle. Like, you always walk around like a brute. And that popped up. I was like, okay. I was like, that makes sense. And literally, it's like, be gentle to yourself. I was like, all right, that makes sense. So get out of the Ibogaine phase of things. I've got that little bit of clarity. At the same time, you still have your gray day. My gray day was actually great. And for people that don't know what a gray day is, it's kind of like your hangover phase of the medicine. I did not have any aspect of the non appetite. I was hungry as all hell and went downstairs and got into that kitchen and had the chefs. And again, 2 thumbs up, 3 thumbs up if I had another hand to those chefs and that staff. And I ate, journaled. I never journaled in my life. And I wrote a book worth of notes and ideas and thoughts, and just the medicine just kind of unlocked a whole side to my brain that I've never touched before, is what it felt like. There was just so much that I felt in that moment, of just clarity of purposes, forgivenesses, happiness, just like everything I thought I was looking for. And then that wasn't even the craziest part about it. So if we fast forward to the 5-MeO, so in between all that, meet with a Reiki, get massage, you're going to have some therapy sessions talking about things, kind of going through everything that you felt, did, so on and so forth. But the 5-MeO is where it really, that's the part that really got me. And that was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, was that 5-MeO. So what I knew about 5-MeO was that either you're going to have an extremely euphoric one, or it's going to be a rough ride for you. I got the latter of the two. But saying that it was a rough ride, at the end of it, it was absolutely amazing. I would take that rough ride again to get that feeling that I had at the end, all day. So administered the 5-MeO, and you're immediately in the matrix, is what I'd call it. I went immediately right into it. I didn't know what to feel. I said, ironically, it's like I'm smoking out of a meth pipe, and my job was arresting people smoking out of meth pipes, and I look like a crackhead now smoking 5-MeO out of it. So I go into this, the only way to explain it is like this room. And my thing with this whole journey is I kept seeing meters. And when I say meters, is like red to green. So I saw 2 meters shoot down the side of my head. I'm in this black room. And as soon as I see these meters, it's green furthest away and red is closest to me. I let out this scream. And the only way I could explain what the scream was, it was like, anybody knows what the Hulk is? It was like the Hulk times 50. And I could not control myself. Like, it came out and I was looking at purple and green stuff coming out of my mouth. Like, just energy coming out of my mouth, just spewing out. And I remember thinking to myself, like, what the hell is that? And then I was like, I need to stop screaming. But every time I would scream, the meter would go from green, reach red, and when it would hit red, I would scream again.
Mm.
And then I'm like, okay, you need to stop this. You sound ridiculous. So the harder I tried to stop it, the louder I would yell, and the more green and purple stuff would come out. And I don't know, 7, 8 times I did this over and over again. And I'm like, what is going on here? So then I was like, okay, this is what they were talking about. You're gonna have to kill your ego. Like, all right, let's try to do it. So for people who don't know, there are 2 times in our lives that we have major DMT dumps in our body: when you're born and when you die. That's why people have that, what they say, come to God moment, or that euphoric feeling before they die, saying they see their parents, whoever it may be, on the other side. That's kind of why you have that. So at this point, I'm trying to trick myself in this, obviously saying that I'm dying or I'm dead. So every time I'd get the meter down to red, I'd be okay. And then I'd fight it again. So I was like, let me suffocate myself. That's what I'll do. So I'm trying to get all the air out of my lungs, and I'm yelling louder and louder and harder. And I even got to the point where I was doing the like the death gurgle. And then every time I'd hear it, I'd say, no, you can't die. And then I realized, okay, this is my ego. It is fighting for its life right now.
Mm.
So I don't know how many times after that I got frustrated with myself. I was like, you need to find a way to get this over with. So I look to my right. And as I look to my right, there's a gun sitting there. And I pick up the gun. Say, okay, you're gonna have to shoot yourself in the head. I was all right, let's get this done. So I go to pick up the gun and put it to my head. But as I'm picking up the gun, I'm fighting myself. I was fighting so hard. I thought my bicep was gonna rip off. I was fighting so hard not to put this gun to my head, but I was also trying to put the gun to my head at the same time. And I remember DJ told me something. And like I said in the beginning of this, DJ said, when it comes time, you're going to have to kill your ego. And then all of a sudden I hear DJ's voice in the back of my head. He goes, stop being a pussy already and do it. And I remember thinking to myself, you know what? And I said, F you, pull the gun plan, pull the trigger. At this point, I snap out of this room that I was in and I go into this like tunnel. It's just black and white lights shooting down the side of this tunnel. And I have never been so scared in my life. I've never had an anxiety attack or a panic attack. I'm pretty sure I had both simultaneously. I was dumping sweat. I didn't know where I was, but I knew I did not want to be there. Even to the point where you can't get, for people that really don't know what I'm saying, you can't get out of this. Once you're in this, you're in it for, it's like 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it may be. I got to the point where I was talking to the staff and telling them, like, get me the F out of here right now. Like, I need to get out of here. And obviously, thank God the staff is great, because I'm pretty sure they probably thought I was about to just get up and start freaking out. One of the guys was like, you're doing good, like talking me through it. And you can't get out. You're in this, dude. Like, there's nowhere to go. Like, you need to work on your breathing and take the breathing seriously. For anybody that does go down and do this, that helped me out a lot. At the same time, I did fight that also, but I was able to like catch my breath and slow down a little bit and deal with what was going on. But the more I moved down this hallway, there was a light at the end of it, the more scared that I got. So I calmed myself down, but then I started getting closer and closer and I freaked out again. So I'm sweating, freaking out, wanting to get the hell out of there. And then it just got to a point where I was like, you know what? Whatever. I'm getting cool. I can't stop this. I'm just going to accept whatever's going to happen at this point. And at that moment, I snapped out of it. Medicine was done. And when I tell you, I let out and had the biggest dump of emotion. Everything I've ever compartmentalized, every emotion that I've hidden, every cry that I've hidden my whole life came out of me at that moment. I cried so much, like a baby. Like I was crying for 15 minutes straight. And I remember the first thing they brought Jose in the room. Cool guy down there, man. And I remember before I did the medicine, I was like, why is he in here? He's a bigger guy. I was like, why is he standing in here right now? And then I realized why he was in there after this. So I'm letting out this cry. And the first thing I say, I was like, I don't know who's in this room, because you are blindfolded. I'm sorry too. People that also don't have the picture drawn on this. I'm blindfolded. So I don't know who's in here right now, but I need a hug. That's the first thing I said when I came out of this. And I'm just dumping tears. So they're like dog piled on me. I'm hugging everybody in the room. I'm just crying, letting out every single thing in my body. Like I literally felt like the door open and just everything come out. And after that cry, all I can say is that I was 180 degrees of a person at that point. Like I felt a rebirth is the way I could explain it. There was a sense of happiness and just pure joy at the end of that. That was, I can't explain to you. The only thing I could say is that if everybody in this world simultaneously felt that way or did this at the same time and came out feeling like that, there'd be no hate in this world whatsoever. Zero. Black, white, Hispanic, I don't care who you are. Like I'd have hugged everybody in this world. You could have kicked my dog down the stairs in front of me. I'd have been like, all right, whatever, cool. That's how good I felt. Like I was seeing in like 8K. If there's better than 8K, I was seeing in that. I was hearing things like things were just clear to me. And I came out of that just a different human being, total different human being. And it sucked leading up to it, but I would deal with that sucky part of it just to get that feeling 50,000 times over. Wouldn't redo it. And it was just an amazing, absolutely amazing feeling that I got when I came out of that. And even to this day, just the patience aspect of my life, like what I tell people a lot of times too, and a lot of people actually get to hear me talk now more and more. I think it was Keanu Reeves, is a quote that I read. And what I would do before in life is like, let's say somebody tells you 2 + 2 is 5. And I'm like, no, it's not. They're like, no, 2 + 2 is 5. You get to a point like you're banging your head against the wall. Like, how do you not see 2 + 2 is not 5? Like, I'm at the point in life, like, if you tell me 2 + 2 is 5, it's 5, man. Cool. How is that affecting me whatsoever? It's not. You know, we get to this point in our lives where we just allow the smallest, stupidest things to just drain us of energies and everything else. And then also it's like we forget how to be kids and how to just like feel that feeling like when we didn't have all these expectations and all these traumas, if you will, and all this life that we've gotten up to in our 40+ years, whatever it is that we are at this point. We allow that to control us and we forget how to just be happy, live life, for even in the small moments. You know, I understand we've got things we've got to do, but small moments, you go on vacation, like just enjoy that time for a second. You know, we forget how to do that. And then also understanding that trauma is trauma, man. You know, like we think that, and a lot of people think just because we're not police officers, not firefighters, we're in the military, we weren't Navy SEALs, because you didn't kill a bunch of people or you didn't see people blow up, that, oh, I don't have any trauma. That's BS. I would tell you probably 99% of people will tell you their trauma, once they actually know what trauma is, has nothing to do with that. It's stuff that happened when we were kids, man. You know, it's something that happened where somebody took fruit snacks from you. You got beat as a kid, whatever it was. That's what happened. That's what caused us to become who we are. I was a cop and played football because of A, B, and C in life when I was younger. You know, something happened to you that made you want to be a firefighter or what made you a protector, whatever it may be. You know, there were things that took place way before these things that we think are the game changers in our life. That's not it. And that's where we forget to actually look. And that little kid that's locked away with those emotions and everything I had locked away back here, that's what the problem was. You know, it wasn't the fact that, yeah, I got the shootings and all that stuff happened. Yeah, it's traumatizing and seeing that stuff. But there were other things that had to be dealt with. Saying goodbye to my father, seeing my grandfather also, forgiving people, just over even small, stupid things, just saying like, we're good here, we're done, you know, and stop drinking the poison. Like, you want other people to suffer, but you're the one actually suffering because you're forcing yourself to suffer. So a lot of that is what I got to get rid of when I came out of that. And to this moment, man, I mean, it's been a year. It'll be a year in September. So I'm still feeling the effects of it. I did it one time. I was never, didn't have any addictions when it came to alcoholism or anything like that. SRIs, anything when it comes to that aspect of things, but I can only speak in the level of what I had. And I know there are aspects of that. And I went through with the guys that were alcoholics and dudes were on SSRIs and legit 24 hours, done. You don't hear about that stuff. You don't get off of that stuff in 24 hours. And literally guys like, yep, nope, don't want it. Get it away from me. And it's just amazing. Absolutely amazing to see that. So that's
Yeah, we
kind of my
talked about those solutions, right?
Mhm,
We're like, hey, like we're sick of being sick,
mhm.
as like a legion of people who put our bodies, our minds, um, at risk. It we want solutions, and I think, I've been advocating for 343 the last month when I came in contact with Angela,
Mhm.
and I'm sold, man. I'm really sold on a medicine, and I really truly believe that it takes sometimes greater circumstances to heal things in the spirit realm. Like there's some things that need to be healed in that realm,
Yep.
and I think what's really powerful is that you did your own healing. Like you had your at a soul level, you saw yourself and you took it upon yourself to do your own healing. That's the beautiful part about this, is that it's just guiding you for you to do your own work, which is the most profound thing. And I really honor that. And that's a soul's mission, is to heal our emotional debris, to heal our cuts and our wounds. But how do we do that? And that's what I truly believe that this medicine had left Africa in order for it to do. And that's powerful. And that's even a part of how you're even connected to this medicine, is that it comes from Africa, which is
Yep.
even more powerful. And I really honor that without a doubt. And I've heard so many different stories, man. They're all so interestingly connected to one thing. And it's this aspect of unconditional love that we fail to show ourselves. And it's this resistance to feel our emotion, because especially for men, we see it as weak and vulnerable. But those are the powerful parts of us, which is amazing. I have a really good friend who had told me, like, hey, John, PTSD is just a lot of unprocessed grief. And that's all it is. But how do you get to that grief? We got to get through the barriers that the barriers we put up in order for us to even feel that. So I think to have an option for taking medicine, it cuts through the barriers for you. And then there's some struggle between like these identities we've held that have been protecting us since birth. And it's just protecting us from being able to cry or to
Right.
feel the joy, because we don't know anything different. So I have heard some stories like how there is a spirit to this medicine. And in this spirit of this medicine, it has the ability to have two females. One's a female spirit, one's a male spirit. So it depends on the person what they get. It's the only plant that is two spirited, and this is given from the Bwiti of what they teach about this medicine, because it's so profound. And Iboga has been referred to as the grandfather or the godfather of all plants. So when people go do this experience, that's who they're meeting. They're meeting this exact being, this person who's the protector of this medicine, where the knowledge and the wisdom is given. And so these people have been doing this medicine for thousands of years, and it's a part of who they are. And so I don't know if you've ever heard the story of where Iboga came from. Did you ever hear that story? The
The
origin
hunter, yeah.
of it?
Yeah, the hunter that was
Yeah.
an animal, and he pulled the arrow out of the root and went on a trip. Didn't realize he was going on a trip when he pulled the arrow through, eating the meat.
And then even that elephants, the way they find Iboga, that elephants eat Iboga, and
Oh, the
that's how
root.
they find it. That's how they track it, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But as far as getting away from all that, like the thing we've had people talk about the 5-MeO DMT,
Mhm.
which can be, I think the key word with it is surrender.
Yes.
And we see surrender as and I'm speaking for men, and I'm sure women deal with this too, but I think women have a different experience with surrender, because they have this acclimation to birth and childbearing, which
Mhm.
is a form of surrender. To birth life, you have to surrender your body. Like we don't have that as men. We don't hold that experience. So in order for us to lay our sword down and to submit seems like the end, when we have to rearrange our thinking around that word surrender, which is the ability to step into transformation by letting go of the past. And the moment we lay down our sword is the beginning of something new. And so if we wrap our heads around these concepts and have language and narrative to to these things. Now we can change our perspective. But from people who do 5-MeO, they have a really hard time surrendering because it's this state that we want to protect ourselves from change. And it's like it's this new meaning that we're afraid to see. And I think, well, we all can experience that in life. That's why we resist. But the law of like resisting is only kind of create more harm within yourself, you know? So I think uh, what you had experienced is just so profound because of the grind you could feel within yourself. But all it was is just this emotion that was just ready to be unlocked, just letting go of it all, which I found to be really beautiful, brother. Like that was awesome. I know what that feels like, that emotion. And I remember crying. I had a really hard time crying for a very long time. And I still get like teared up when I talk about it. Um, and I had this woman kind of helping me through some stuff. And she finally she told me to give myself permission to cry it out. And the cry that came out was as if like my tribe had been murdered. And when I let that out, dude, I felt so liberated from just like the suffering I kept clinging to, you know? So I can relate to what that feels like, you know, it's really powerful.
So I want to add on to something you said too about the love aspect of things and feeling the power of what love is. That was another factor that I was able to feel. Because before this, I thought adrenaline was the most powerful drug I could deal with. I was addicted to adrenaline when I was a cop. I was hunting for it. Every single moment I could find, I'd get involved. Hence why I got involved with the majority of stuff I was involved with. But once I felt that feeling of love, when I hugged everybody in that room after that, that was the most powerful and the best feeling I ever had in my life. So I just wanted to piggyback off what you said with that so people understand that. Love, when you actually allow it in, and that's obviously I wasn't allowing it because I was protecting a lot of things and my ego was protecting things inside of me. It was insane how great that feeling was. So I just have to add on to that was that feeling of love at that moment when I came out the back end of the 5-MeO was the best feeling ever, which added to that whole 180 degree of a person feel when it came to that. But yeah, it was it's amazing. It's night and day. It's a game changer. It's hard to explain to people that have not gone through it, but in a sense that you do understand what I'm saying here also. It's letting go, surrendering, like you said. You're hitting the nail right on the head. That surrendering aspect of things in life and allowing yourself to do that, like allowing yourself to feel, allowing yourself to cry, allow yourself to be happy, allow yourself to be gentle, you know, just all those things in our lives that we need to do to better ourselves. And not only by doing that do you better yourself, but you better the people around you, like what we're doing right now. I'll tell you, a year ago, you wouldn't have found me here talking to you. No way. I was sitting here telling a story about my life. I was not sitting on a podcast saying anything about what I used to do. I mean, you could go look me up on the internet. You'll find one picture of me in a uniform, and that was by accident. I was the guy that was hiding in the corner. I didn't want you to see what was going on. But at this point, I told Trevor from the day I came out of there, I'm the poster board, man. I will tell every single person about this. And people thought I was crazy. Never did a drug in my life, and you went and did what? They're like, you're crazy. But it is that feeling and the understanding that you get when you actually allow yourself to feel is profound, absolutely profound. And like you said, it heals so much that it heals. So
I think we have to rearrange our thinking around drugs, because half of what we call medicine is drugs and half of what we call drugs is medicine. And I think what we can find as medicine is seeing something that can bring the mind, body, and spirit into balance and harmony is what medicine is. And so if taking a prescription is going to mask those things from finding greatest hope and reverence for the self, then what really is medicine, you know? So I really want people to understand that we got the language we're using has to be very intricate when we're talking about something like Ibogaine. Even though it's been scheduled as a Schedule 1 drug, this is something that is a medicine that brings harmony and balance to the mind, body, and spirit. So we have to see it as that. And I think people are more and more seeing it as that. So when we're talking about Ibogaine, it is a medicine. When we're talking about ayahuasca, it is a medicine. When we're talking about 5-MeO-DMT, it is a medicine because it brings us to our truest selves. And I have been looking at deciding and understanding what trauma is. And what I see trauma is, in its contemporary definition, is that it is something that disconnects us from our truest self. Because anything can be subjective as trauma, right? And I've used the example like my girlfriend and myself got attacked by our dog. She's traumatized from it. She can't be around bigger dogs now, but I can. So why was she traumatized by it and I wasn't? It's subjective, but it disconnected for her from her truest self. She has to go deep into why that is. So like we have to rearrange what's going on here. And I think we're embarking upon a great pivotal moment in human consciousness and in humanity as we're rediscovering what is happening. Yeah, at a minute scale and at a magnanimous scale with these medicines and with the trauma we deal with and as a collective. And the stuff that Ambio Life Sciences is doing is amazing. And there's other clinics around that's doing the same thing that's gratifying the reverence of this medicine and the reverence of human consciousness and the reverence of connection. It's really profound.
It really is. It really
So
is.
what about integration? Because I know people say that when you go do medicine like this, that half the battle is going to do it, and the half the battle is to embody it, number one, and to live what you've learned.
So integration, I'll bring in. This is where 343 comes in at this point. So people that don't understand integration is like you said, the prep for the medicine, and then also the in between. So a lot of times we'll go down to Mexico with you guys and girls and assist you through the process. And then there's the post aspect of things also. Doing the medicine is just one small part of this whole thing. So the prep will be your breath work, which again, I explained a little bit briefly about how that is definitely be a savior for you and understanding how to really take on the breath work in a good way. I didn't have integration before because I got in so fast, but I also think that was a blessing for me because it gave me a lot less time to think about things. The aspect of meeting the staff. So with 343, I'll just give them a quick shout out. The whole staff there is absolutely amazing, from your breathwork coaches, integration coaches, everybody, Angela, obviously, Jill behind the scenes, everybody that works through everything there, just track stars 100% all over. But then the post aspect and speaking with your therapist, everybody that is involved with this aspect of things is huge. So, and this is an ongoing process. This is not just a one-all and you're done type of scenario. There's going to be the post aspect of things that you're going to have to go in, speak with people, and just work through everything that you just went through. So that integration aspect is what we do over there at 343, and with getting people through that aspect of it, keeping you on a schedule up to the point of going to receive the medicine, and then, like you said, on the your release date, and then post release date, and you'll have your group of individuals that you were with. You'll either go through with them, and then you'll also have your one-on-one sessions also when it comes to that. But talking about 343 a little bit also, just this, the 343 fund, the way I got involved with them, I was looking to give back in some sort of way and get back into this realm. And I felt like that was my purpose, was that not one, it was to speak to more people about this, because I felt like that nobody knows about this. What I thought, because I had no idea what Iboga was or Ibogaine was before speaking with a couple of guys and listening to Sean Ryan's show. And even then I didn't know. And then two, like you just said, with the integration aspect and how important that is, understanding, I mean, everything from, we have a manual that will literally walk you through, have explanations of things that you need, follow-ups, organization, just everything to keep you in a structured aspect and mindset going through this whole process of healing. So we do a great job over there with that, and just trying to help people on a daily basis. First responders, obviously, who we go after most, but the families that are involved, everybody that's involved when it comes to this. And we deal with, on the veteran aspect of things, we also team up and do some collaborations, which we actually have a couple fundraisers coming up. I'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I think because part of my business is helping people integrate their lives, and the people, some people have come to me with their experiences. So Angela left when she was here. She left her manual that was here. It was amazing manual. Like, just the way she intricately just put that together was really great. And it's integration is about just grounding in and embodying information. And when you're able to mend the mind-heart connection, and that's essentially what Iboga and Ibogaine do. They mend the mind-heart connection. It's part of what the business of that medicine does. And when we mend our mind-heart connection, there is something called coherence. And that coherence is an alignment of what we're designed to be. We're designed to live in that state of the mind-heart connection. So when there's a disconnection with that coherence, what you have is dissonance. And the mind is in charge and the heart's all the way in the back seat. So what we want to do is to understand how can we bring those two as a team, and actually having the heart being in the front seat really driving our life. And so how do we get to that point is really the question. And I think it's a lot of it is unraveling what we've been taught or what we've never understood. And I always tell people, like, a personal practice, a daily personal practice, primarily with your body, something you can do somatically, is probably one of the best things you can do, because you're just squeezing out like this stagnant energy, stagnant information, opening things up. And when we're able to open things up, we can receive more information. It allows more information that's available to you to receive, something you may have been missing, some blind spots, some of the information from your experience. So allowing that to come through is one of the hardest things, because we want to resist information sometimes. So I think the key is to open. So how do we open? Is really the part where people don't understand. So breath work is amazing. Like, if you understood doing breath work practices, that breath work opens us up because we're removing toxins from our system. We're alkalizing the blood. It gives us an opportunity to open to receive when the blood's not in an acidic state. So, like, I think understanding, like, our human organism, that we're not fragile, we're actually a superhuman being. I think we have to honor that part of ourselves instead of thinking that we're just like these carbon, bodies, and that we're limited. I think we've been taught that since birth. So I think, like, integration is different for every single person. We can't have to treat it differently, right? And I'm sure you have, like, a team that's, like, giving you different pointers and stuff, but I'm curious, like, what worked best for you?
Integration wise, the breathwork aspect of things, post integration was more where I got benefit, because, like I said before, I didn't really get the pre aspect of things, so I got in so fast. And actually, I would say during also, because understanding breathwork, because I didn't really have a big idea. I understood battle breathing and how to calm myself down. God forbid anything happened to me. I understood how to do that aspect of things, but actually understanding how to calm the mind state down, get more oxygen into your blood flow, all of that, understanding how to really breathe through your diaphragm instead of just taking a deep breath and thinking that's what it really is the way to do it. But getting that mindset and knowledge of really how to control that breath and optimize everything and all that you're doing in that process really helped me out the most, I feel. And then actually utilizing, like I said, in my 5-MeO aspect, I was able to catch it a little bit, even though I was freaking out, but it assisted me more. And I think was able to ground me enough to put me in a position to see what I had to see and what I had to do to get where I had to go at that point. So I would have to say my breath work aspect of things. Speaking to my coaches afterwards was also big, because you want to release all that information, organize all those thoughts that you have, because you come out, like, with a lot of thoughts, and a lot has happened in a short period of time. So that helped out a lot also. And even down the road, there was things that just a couple months ago that I was like, oh, that makes sense now. That's what that was. That it's still happening to this day. That I'm recognizing things when it comes through that. And it's speaking through that, journaling was another aspect of it that helped me out when it came to that. So I think breath work would be number one, and then just journaling and going back to those moments. And I wouldn't say reliving them, but just kind of reorganizing my thoughts and putting the puzzle together still, because even to this day, I'm still putting this puzzle together. It hasn't stopped yet.
Yeah, I'm curious because I know Ibogaine's really efficient with brain trauma. And
Mm.
when you were telling me a lot of this stuff, I've had some really good friends who've had anger issues and they never correlated it to brain trauma. And so I'm very curious, if Ibogaine, if you had, I'm sure every time I talk to someone who's played football, I'm like, hey, bro, you've had brain trauma.
Without a doubt.
So that was probably one of the big things because I've had brain trauma myself. And so I understand my purpose is to really help people understand what brain trauma is, because it's a silent injury. And these subtle symptoms, they show up 10 years later, man, when you've had these series of brain traumas. And so if you've had one, or if you've had many, man, it's even harder to recover because it disrupts some type of signals to our emotions, to our body symptoms. And we don't know our testosterone levels, all this hormonal dysregulation, the nervous system dysregulation. So did you feel like a switch, you think, from the medicine based off brain trauma?
I think so, honestly, because I played football at a time where concussions weren't really looked at. Kind of shook it off and kept it moving. How many fingers do you have up? Can you see them good? You can fake that all day. Yeah, I still can't understand what those fingers are, but I see them. I think it definitely has. And I think you are on the right track when it comes to brain injuries and things such as that. I think it definitely played into that, honestly. Whatever it had to be, and I don't understand the dynamic of the neurological aspect when it comes to the brain injury still, and I don't think a lot of people don't, but I think it definitely assisted with that. And I've spoken to other guys, pro athletes, that have had a ton of concussions to points of just health out the door, and have done Ibogaine and have stated they have felt a significant difference. I've felt the difference, and I think it probably has to do with rewiring my brain back to the way it was partially needs to be from all the hedge. Because I took a ton of headshot. I played college football, and we played violently with our bodies where there wasn't a protocol of not hitting with your head. So it was, how many marks can I get on my helmet or try to break my helmet? You don't realize what you're doing to your body at that point, but it does. It down the road, it does play out that way. So I have to, long story short, yes, I think it definitely does.
I know there's a fascinating paradigm of understanding what Ibogaine does for brain trauma. I know for a lot of people, they're trying to figure out like what it does. Like, it's an alkaloid. Like, how is this alkaloid rewiring someone's brain like this? They really are fascinated by this medicine. And I think that was one of the things that cued in a lot of these people to start studying this medicine. Because I know
study is what with the TBI study that they did.
Yeah.
It was a big study that people were wondering, like, where people don't understand that black spot when they take the scan of the brain, it was disappearing. Like you said, there's still that question mark of how is that disappearing? Like,
how is an alkaloid out of all things? Like, what the hell is an alkaloid? They're like trying to figure it out. And like at a molecular level, it's almost the same exact molecular structure as ketamine, which is really strange. And they also say that ketamine helps brain trauma as well. But what's been fascinating is like they've been able to reverse Parkinson's symptoms with this by they say it's reformatting the cerebral cortex of the brain. And these people will have these Parkinson's issues, and they leave Ibogaine, like most of them come out just free of their symptoms. And I know like the first crazy story I've heard was what was his name? That Navy SEAL, Sean Ryan, on Sean Ryan's podcast, like his best friend who was like blown up in Afghanistan and then also got shot in the head, went to go do Ibogaine, and he was just stricken with all these symptoms, could barely walk. He had to walk with a cane, could barely go outside because of his photosensitivity. And then after going to do Ibogaine, he left his cane there at the facility. And he was able to live his life normally to where this medicine just heals people's brains like that, man. It's crazy. So it was crazy when you were talking to me about the anger stuff. For some reason in my head, I thought brain trauma, but it could be a number of things, right? It could be just the depression, and let's add brain trauma to your body. Let's add just years of nervous system dysregulation by, being afraid you're going to get watching your back, on the job, or just all the shit you've seen. Just add that to your plate over all this stuff, man. It's like, how do we survive when we add all this stuff,
Yeah. And we don't look at it that way, we have more on a plate than we even realize. Like you're making it very clear. We don't look at it that way. We're like, oh, trauma is, like we said, it's just, oh, we got into this shooting. We saw this, and this. There's a whole lot more going on with our bodies that to this day, a lot of people can't explain. They can't explain it. And I mean, I would say we're in a great time to see how we are potentially going to be able to save so many lives with this medicine, just based off its ability to do things. And as the studies are happening more and more, and I mean, Texas is stepping into it. They just did pass that $50 million grant. And more studies are done with this. Who knows what the end game is here, what we will be able to utilize this medicine to cure. And, I mean, let's be real here. They would want to cure everything. I don't know if certain people do, but I think this medicine definitely has the ability to do a lot of great things for people that people have no idea about. So.
Well, I just talked to a really good friend of mine who finished doing Iboga, and he was telling me about his journey with the medicine, and the medicine really spoke to him. And he didn't have much of his visions of what he said. He just heard the voice speaking to him of the godfather of Iboga, and it was telling him that this medicine has come out to the outside of the jungle, basically, lack of a better term, but coming out of Africa to help humanity. And it knows what it's doing. It knows that it's releasing itself to the Western world because the Western world is sick. And it basically told him that this is not the first human existence, and that the planet will reset itself if the human race does not figure it out. And so that's the reason why it came out of the jungle, essentially. And I've heard from other people that ayahuasca is doing the same thing. So these medicines are unleashing themselves from their sacred place of being used to help people, to help humanity figure it out, because we're embarking upon this state, this marker of human consciousness, this marker of our species. And unless we do this, I know like we're embarking upon like transhumanization, to where, we're very close to merging with AI. And we are losing this sight on like who we are as human organisms and the potential that we carry. And so that was really fascinating when I spoke to my friend about that experience that he had, because it's not the first time that I've heard that. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. And it's crazy how mental health is this big thing now. It's getting broader and broader and broader. And I think that the medicine also recognizes that. And I think it is going to assist in a major way with mental health, or whatever it is organized under as what mental health issues really are. So I think it's definitely going to cure and assist in so many different ways. Like you said, in the Western world, I agree. We need it. We definitely need something more than what we're just utilizing prescribed medications to mask things. That's all it's doing. It's masking it, making it worse. Then you need more to make that cover up, and then you need more to make that cover up, and then you've got guys and girls hooked on how many freaking pills at this point in time, just to cover something up that could be taken care of at a base level with something like Ibogaine. So
Dude, I love how you mentioned that the mental health industry is getting broader and broader because
yeah,
that's so true, bro. Like I've been seeing it just get expanded and expanded. All you're seeing is like this word mindfulness. And like you need to do meditation. And but that's it. That's all you're seeing. And you're seeing like just people tell their stories about shell shock trauma and how they are able to barely survive out of that. And there's no solution or retribution from those things. So there's like so it's so far in between, and all you're seeing are these facilities that are like sharks trying to grab in all these people with their insurance. But when you see everyone that's going to these facilities, like I mean, they're paying out. Each individual person can pay out up to like $50,000 to $100,000 per person to keep these facilities running. But these people are still sick, man. That's the thing. Like they're getting out of this with just cutting down on their alcohol abuse. And then they come home with like 3 different prescriptions of like Lexapro and Valium. It's like, dude, what the hell's going on here? So that's the part that really gets me like kind of pissed off is like what I'm really seeing are these sharks trying to take advantage of us, like the people who are doing the service. You know what I mean?
yeah. No, I agree with you. I fully agree with you with everything you just said. It's a business. They don't really care for if these people are getting better or not. They don't want them to get better. What happens if they get better? Out of business. So, they want to keep them hooked on a cycle, and then who's next? Bring another one in. Who's next? Bring another one in. It's just a wicked cycle. That's all it is. It's a wicked cycle. And we see it on the street every day. How many people have you cleaned up off the street? Every single day, and they go back to the clinic, do the same thing. Then they're on this, then they're on that, then they're on this, then they need this to get to that. Then they need more. Then they're hooked on everything. And then either they take their own lives or they end up doing some other crazy drug. So,
Yeah, I literally just had this conversation the other day. I had a call. This girl is like hooked on meth, right? At one of these halfway houses.
mhm.
And so every time I'm going to these halfway houses, like these mansions. And that's another thing. It's the same thing. It's like they take in these people who have insurance and they pay out the same amount, $50,000 to $100,000 per person.
Yep.
And you have this house that's making $600,000 a month. And usually the people that are running these places are ex-addicts, only like 6 months out of recovery. And it's this cycle of happening. And then once they get out, they end up in the streets. And that's how this homeless population thing is starting to just pick up. It's picked up over the years because in the state of California, there's a law that's set in place that a recovery center can't deny anyone to go inside.
Yeah.
So that's how this revolving door. I just witnessed this the other day, and a guy at the hospital was telling me this. I was like, "That's crazy, dude," but it makes sense. Like that this system is so corrupt, dude, and there has to be some type of solution for this. But I know what the biggest thing was with Iboga. The first time I heard about it actually was that heroin addicts were going to do Iboga. And that's the first, it was a few years back that this was a paradigm of people who were actually like that was a last case resort, man. These heroin addicts, they knew they were going to die and this was it. And there's something about this medicine that helps with addiction as well. So anyone that has issues with that, people don't have the withdrawals because it just rewires your receptors to your reward center of the brain. So you can go do this medicine. And I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm just saying in general, I've heard great stories of recovery from people battling with addiction issues.
It has 100%, 24 hours, done. People cold turkey in a sense, not going back to, I mean, heroin is extraordinarily addictive and 24 hours not touching ever again. It's just amazing what it could do. Absolutely amazing. And I've seen it firsthand. You've seen it firsthand. We hear the stories, but it is amazing. And I'm excited and proud to be part of something, even if it's something small at this point, that is able to assist to get this out there and for people to heal and to stop suffering and to just spread the word and be able to live a better life for themselves and for their families, so on and so forth, man. It's great what you're doing. It's great what everybody's doing. Everybody's going to have to play a part in this one. It's going to be a fight for everybody. We're going to need people to do a whole lot when it comes to this medicine. And I think we're definitely in a position to assist with all that. And it is absolutely great.
Yeah, man, I sat with this for a while on how do I, when I was talking about earlier with the solution stuff, like, and this seemed to be it. So this seemed to be one of the solutions. And I sat with the idea for a while of advocating for 343. And when I sat with it, it was like, dude, it's fear that's holding me back because I feel like I'm afraid of what my department will say if I speak out on something like this. And at this point, I don't care because you know what, man? I know that I've seen people heal with this medicine, and what they're doing to help people is limited. When something like this can come out and heal someone who's been dealing with years of trauma, years of addiction, years of brain trauma issues, and I'm tired of people being in fear based on their decision making with golden handcuffs, thinking they're just going to shut up and pick up their pensions when
Yeah.
they don't want to advocate for something that has a true solution of being able to reverse someone's issues. And the only thing I see is just like this bulletin that we have for our department. Just say, hey, this is Suicide Prevention Month. Speak to a therapist. That's it.
Yeah. And we know how that goes when you go to speak to a therapist. Yeah, I'm good. Sign this paperwork. You did your therapy. That's therapy. It's like you did nothing. It doesn't do anything. And it's funny that you bring that up also because it's about time that we open our mouths because there's so many people out there that are looking for a way. And when I started doing this whole aspect of speaking about it, and I started talking to people more about this, it's amazing how many people either have been looking for options or have actually done things behind the scenes.
Mm.
And then you sit there and you think about it like, then why the hell wouldn't you say something? That's my other thought process. It's like you have these options, either ketamine treatment, whatever it may be, any sort of the psychedelic treatment or therapy. It's like you were going through this, but you didn't say anything. Why not? And exactly what you said. They're scared of the consequences of brass and the higher ups and what may potentially happen, so on and so forth. So you're going to live your life in a dark hole and let the demons just eat away at you the whole time? Screw that. Why? For what? And why won't the higher ups or the departments want to support that? You're getting a better product out of the individual who's working there at this point in time. In a whole bigger picture, it's just I don't see any way this is a negative aspect of things whatsoever. You know, give the guys and girls the break that they need, not a drinking day, not a day to go out to the bar. Let them go literally go rewire your brain, get things squared away, deal with what you got to deal with. And you're a better person representing not only your department, yourself, and everybody else in that community. Like, I don't see how that's a loss in any way. I see that as a pro all the way around. So, I mean, there's
Yeah, no, I think it's challenging the system to keep people sick
Mhm.
because it is, and there is
Yeah.
a patriarchy that's not allowing something like this to help people. And I truly believe that like what is happening is that the people who truly do care about it at a soul level is here to break those systems apart because they cannot exist. They cannot hold what is emerging right now at a soul level for human consciousness for this species, man. Like I really truly believe that, and I really think what it's going to crumble. It cannot exist any longer because it's not honoring us, and especially the people who serve us, serve the communities in this country. Those who will find out the solutions themselves. Like this started out with all these Navy SEALs, a group of Navy SEAls who were like, I cannot do this any longer. I'm gonna find a solution. And they did. And now look at it now. Look at this ripple effect that has occurred from the courage of someone to say, I can't do this any longer, but I want to live. And I really it does take courage to come out. I'm sure this is healing for you to just come on here on multiple podcast platforms to tell your story. You know what I mean?
it huge healing process. The first time I went on a podcast, like I told you earlier in this podcast, I was one to never talk to anybody about anything. And the first podcast I did, just simply not even talking about Ibogaine, just simply telling a story
Mm.
was just a release. And then telling this story and how many people actually I speak to about this now, it's I can't explain to you how it feels. It is extremely gratifying in so many different ways, being able to come out, speak, tell my story, and know that even if it's helping one person, that one person is helping another person who's helping another person. it's a ripple effect, like you said before. It's literally a ripple effect. And I appreciate guys like yourself and other individuals who have podcasts and platforms who are doing this and allowing people to hear and giving people the hope and the knowledge to let them know that there is a way. There is a way to heal certain things. There are other people out there that are doing and feeling the same exact way you are. And there are ways to get better from certain things. And it's right here in front of you. So
Now, when you've done like different interviews and things like that, have you had like some integration and stuff come up for you, and like you like, oh, I remember that, or something like that?
oh yeah. Oh, definitely. I had so I'll tell you the most recent one that I had was when I was going through my journey. Ibogaine, and as you know, a lot of people say that Ibogaine comes up as a human or an animal or something. That's whoever the person that's taking you through your journey. So mine was, it was this weird like eagle head on a human's body is who it was, and with a green aura around it. And I could not figure out for the longest time what this head was. I knew it would look like a bird. I just couldn't figure it out. And I'd have to show you a picture. I'll send you a picture of what it was. But in the Ambio house, there is an Aztec war eagle. And I remember when I first came in there, I was just like locked on this statue. I was like, I love this statue. And I even asked Trevor about this when he talked to him. I was like, Trevor, I want that statue. I was like, I don't care how much it is. Just tell me how much it is. I'll pay you. I want taking that home with me. I want it. And they have a bunch of cool stuff down there if you've been down there. I was like, but that statue, I want it. And didn't get it at that point in time, whatever, kind of put it in the back of my head. And then I went down there a couple months ago. We were shooting a little micro documentary. And I remember sitting there looking at the statue again. And he actually found me one. He got me one, by the way. Shout out to Trevor for that. I have it in my house now. And I looked at it and I was like, that's what it was. I was like, it was the war eagle. It was literally the guy that was taking me on the journey it was literally the war eagle statue, the Aztec war eagle statue, which when you do the sauna aspect, people understand how that integrates into it and how you get that build up to it. But that was something that happened, I mean, a couple months ago, that part popped up for me. And I was trying to figure out for the longest time, like what it was I was looking at. And that was 100% it. So yes, to answer your question in short, yes, things pop up like that all the time. I'll hear the music, like the Bwiti tribe music or the tribal music we're listening to, and almost like I'm brought back into the journey for a second, and I could remember little things that I didn't remember before. Or like as I was journaling, there was a gap or some sort of hiatus that I could not figure out what part was missing, and I'll be, okay, that's it. I got to write that down. So it happens all the time.
Yeah, the interesting about that eagle is, like when I was going through my spiritual awakening, I would see animals come to my dreams or meditations. They would present themselves to me. And so after investigating it, it was very common for Native Americans and other indigenous tribes to see these animals would emerge to the consciousness as medicine. They would be something as like a guide or a helper on someone's path. And the eagle has been reverenced as a form of, or a sigil as courage and strength and also freedom. Because of the way the eagle flies, it can soar higher than any other bird. And so what's really fascinating about that is it's been referred to as a power animal in Native American medicine. They refer to as only certain animals that hold certain power to them because they're apex predators. So whenever something comes like that to someone, it has great meaning because of the power it's there to present you and to assist you with something. And so, like, I mean, I know a lot of people can see this as bullshit, but I think we've lost touch with some of the essence of how we're so connected to this planet, and we've lost touch with those little things, But that's pretty cool that the eagle was part of your medicine. It really makes sense.
No, it does. And then I also aspect of it is like only eagles can fly with eagles. You'll never find pigeons flying with eagles, so they can't fly at that height. There's a reason that they're where they are. And I associated that also, and that would bring associations with like the individuals in that room that I was with, the people that I have connected with thus far. I feel like they're on the eagle path.
Mm.
you know. So I feel like that we're flying with eagles at this point, and I agree with you. We definitely have lost translation with what life is and what nature is and the spirituality of things in life. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect at this because I'm learning a whole lot daily when it comes to a lot of this. But yes, we have definitely lost our way in so many ways, spirituality, and God, and a ton of things that this medicine has also assisted with kind of getting me back on that path and understanding. And even the simple things is grounding yourself, just walking barefoot on the ground and understanding the
Mhm.
energies of that, you know,
Yeah.
just feeling that whole aspect. Cause I wasn't big into that before. But I'll tell you, when I walked out of there after that 5 MEO and I walked barefoot, I could feel everything. I was
Mm.
feeling literally everything. I was walking around Tijuana barefoot. That is not me.
Oh man, dude. That's great, man. So would you ever do Ibogaine again?
So that's a loaded question. I don't feel like I need to do it. And it's great that you bring it up because people sometimes have asked me, like, oh, is it an addictive medicine? I don't think that is at all in any way something you'll be addicted to. If you do
Yeah.
Ibogaine, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Um, Potentially, yes. After I did it, I was like, yeah, no way in hell I'll ever do that again. But then after I kind of sat down and went through some things, I potentially would. Potentially, I would. I think it's more of when the medicine calls you to do it. I don't feel a calling for it right now. I
Yeah.
think I got a lot taken care of through my journey.
Mm.
Um, is there more? Oh yeah, we're all working through things every day. So I leave the door open because potentially that could happen, but I can't say yes or no right now.
Yeah, but that's the only why I asked that is because I know some people they will never do Ibogaine ever again.
Mm,
But only because they don't need to, because the
yeah,
medicine is that potent. But I've also heard people having to work through some hard shit, man, like the sexual trauma, things like that. Like it can be really difficult to work through, so they have to do multiple sessions. I mean, the
yep.
guy
On
that Navy
three.
SEAL Corey that came on, he had to do Iboga around 6 to 8 times in order for him to get his healing because he was so stubborn with himself. So the medicine had to like show him. And he talks about on that episode like what happened. And I know everyone's got different stuff, different templates of who we are, right? And everyone deserves to heal, though. That's the thing. I think that's what the message is here: is that everyone deserves to heal, so we can walk on this planet as a harmonized human being. Um, so I do want to. We're kind of coming up on time here, but I do want to honor you with great reverence, brother, for your service. Number one, the courage to go do Ibogaine, even though you had like little to no information on it, and just being like a patriot for others, and paving the way for others to see like what it is like to have that courage and what it is like to come out on the other side. And at a soul level, like what you did, it means a lot, and I really do honor you, brother.
I thank you, man. I got to give you the same honor because what you're doing and the platform that you have, and obviously you're dealing with on a daily basis. It's just something that I honor you the same. It's hard work. A lot of people don't realize how hard it is, but it is hard work. And you're doing it on a daily basis, and just this stuff that we're doing. I think it's amazing, absolutely amazing everything we're doing here. But I thank you for that. Definitely thank you.
Thanks, man.
And
I really appreciate it.
yeah, definitely want to give 343 a quick shout out. Anybody that is looking for 343, we're at 343.org. And then also we've got a couple events coming up too, if you're good with that. Fundraisers. October 17th, we've got a fundraiser. We're teaming up with vets, and we're gonna have Brian Hubbard out there, Rob O'Neill, doing a fundraiser out in Chicago at the Trump. It's October 17th of 2025. And then we have another one the week after in Austin, Texas. We're doing on October 23rd. So you guys can run over to our website, 343fund.org, donate in any way you can. We're looking for all the help we can to get first responders and their families through, because that's all we're doing right now is trying to help as many people as we can through this whole process. But I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, man. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Yeah, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode. I'll always put the 343 fun stuff at the beginning of the episode as well. So definitely check out what Angela's doing. It's in honor of her husband who had passed away, who was a firefighter from FDNY. So please support. If you don't want to go do Ibogaine, you can go on there to support someone. That's the beauty of that. You want to donate to help someone who needs help, you can do that on that website. And so thanks again, brother Aaron.
Yes.
Thanks for coming on, your time. I know there were some hiccups in the beginning of this, but I was like, hey man, he's got to trust it, you know?
That's why, that's why I have patience, right? Work through
Right,
it.
dude. Patience is a virtue.
I do appreciate you and everything you're doing. Thank you.
All right, man. Well, thank you everyone for listening. I love you guys. Please like, subscribe, grab lives, go on the Instagram, and help the algorithm start to get things rolling on the reels and things I've been posting. It really helps push the strange algorithm things forward. And thank you for listening. All right, everyone. Love you.
It's time for Crab Lives.